Ribhu Gita. There is a text in the Shaiva tradition of South India known as the Ribhu Gita, the Song of Ribhu. It forms a portion of the larger Shivarahasya Purana, a scripture whose earliest surviving manuscripts date to somewhere between the 12th and 14th centuries. We do not know the name of the person who composed it. What we do know is what it attempts. The text is framed as a conversation between a sage named Ribhu and his student Nidagha, and its sole purpose, pursued with extraordinary persistence across hundreds of verses, is to dismantle every assumption the listener holds about who and what they are. It does this not through argument alone, but through repetition, through the patient hammering of a single recognition that what you call yourself is not a bounded creature in a world of separate things, but the ground of awareness in which all things appear. The verses you are about to hear come from the 6th section of that scripture. They have been rendered into English to carry something of the original rhythm. Here, then, is the Ribhu Gita. The Supreme Lord Shiva speaks to the sage Ribhu. Listen, O Ribhu. I shall teach you the secret that destroys the fear of the world. This universe does not exist as an other. There is no mind, no ego, and no creation. Everything you see, everything you think, and everything you are is Brahman alone. Ribhu repeats the teaching like a rhythmic pulse. The earth is only Brahman. The space is only Brahman. The fire, the wind, and the water are only Brahman. The mind that doubts is Brahman. The hand that works is Brahman. There is no second substance anywhere in the three worlds. I am Brahman, you are Brahman. The seer, the seeing, and the seen are one unmoving mass of awareness. The distinction between the seeker and the goal is a processing error of the mind. Brahman is unmoving, without parts, and without change. How then can there be a coming or a going? How can there be bondage or freedom? The self cannot travel to itself. Stop the search. Be the fact. The sage Ribhu, after receiving the nectar of truth from Shiva, sought out his disciple Nidagha. He found him living in a beautiful garden, still performing the rituals of the world. Nidagha, seeing his master, bowed low and said, "Welcome, O master. Please enter my house. I shall provide you with a feast. Tell me, are you hungry? Does this food satisfy you?" Ribhu looked at the feast and struck at the logic of you and I, Nidagha. You ask if I am satisfied. But who is this I that eats, and who is the you that offers? If everything is only Brahman, who is the guest and in whose house? The hand that gives is Brahman. The mouth that receives is Brahman. The hunger itself is a ripple in the infinite. Nidagha asked, "Master, where have you come from, and where are you going?" Coming and going are properties of the body. Does the sky come from the city? Does the ocean go to the shore? I am the unmoving substratum. I have never moved an inch, for there is no place where I am not already standing. Listen, Nidagha, stop thinking of me as a teacher. That thought is a wall. Instruction is not a gaining of something new. It is the clearing of the cataract. When the cataract is removed, the eye sees the sun. Does the sun enter the eye? No. The eye realizes it was always in the sunlight. The student asks, "Master, you say Brahman is all, but I see the mountains, I feel the wind, and I walk upon the earth. These things have weight, they have duration, they have presence. How can you call this solid universe a void? Is my very life a vacuum?" Listen, O Nidagha, you are blinded by the habit of naming. Because you have a word for mountain, you believe there is a mountain. But if you search for the mountain apart from its atoms, you find nothing. If you search for the atoms apart from their energy, you find nothing. If you search for the energy apart from awareness, you find nothing. The solid world is a linguistic hallucination projected onto the silence. The seen world is only Brahman. It has no independent existence. The thought world is only Brahman. It is a ripple on a shoreless sea. The dream world is only Brahman. Its mountains are made of light. The void of deep sleep is only Brahman. Its darkness is the glare of the sun. The world is like the silver seen in the mother of pearl. It is like the city of the Gandharvas in the sky. It is like the water in a mirage. The thirsty man sees water. He runs toward it. He arrives and finds only hot sand. The many is vivid enough to terrify the fool, but thin enough to be dissolved by the wise. There is no this and no that. There is no inside and no outside. The entire forest of names and forms is a void. The only thing that is not a void is the witness of the void. When you negate the entire world, what remains is not nothingness but foundational isness. It is a mass of awareness. It is like a block of pure gold. The universe is just a series of scratchings on the surface of the gold. The scratchings are shallow and temporary. The gold is deep and eternal. The student asks, "Master, if the world is a void, why does it still feel so vivid? Why do I feel the heat of anger, the weight of worry, and the pull of desire? If the mountain is a ghost, who is it that is climbing the mountain?" Listen, O Nidagha, you are misdiagnosing the vibration. The mountain is not outside. The anger is not inside. Both are nothing but the movement of the mind. The world is a dream projected by the mind stuff. There is no universe apart from the thought of the universe. The mind is the only jailer, and the mind is the only prison wall. The I thought is only Brahman. It has no independent heart. The this thought is only Brahman. It is a ripple on a shoreless sea. The wanting is only Brahman. It is a shadow with no substance. Consider the ocean. The waves are not different from the water. When the wind of desire blows, the water takes the form of a wave. The fool says, "I see a wave." The sage says, "I see the ocean moving." The mind is that wave. When the mind ripples, we call it world. When the mind is still, we call it Brahman. But the substance, the awareness, never changed into a wave. It only appeared to. The mind is the cause of bondage. The mind is the cause of duality. When the mind is dissolved, the many vanishes instantly. Just as a firebrand, when it stops spinning, no longer creates circles of light, the self, when the mind stops spinning, no longer creates a universe. You are not the thinker. You are the silence in which the thinking occurs. The thought I am Nidagha is just a high-frequency vibration in the mass of awareness. If you stop feeding the vibration with your attention, the Nidagha phantom dies. What remains is not a blank, but the fullness of being. There is no mind. There is no intellect. There is no ego. There are no thoughts of good or bad. Everything is only the mass of consciousness. The student asks, "Master, if the mind is dead, then who is it that perceives the history of the world? I see the sunrise, I see the seasons, and I see the birth and death of creatures. If Brahman is the only truth, how did this massive becoming begin? When was the first atom created? Listen, O Nidagha, you are asking about the history of a mirage. The beginning is a thought. The end is a thought. In reality, nothing has ever been born. Nothing has ever died. The world did not begin 1 billion years ago, nor did it begin this morning. The universe is unborn. To look for the cause of the world is like looking for the parents of a dream child. Brahman is changeless. If Brahman changed into the world, Brahman would be subject to time and decay. Brahman is without parts. If Brahman produced the world, he would have had to divide himself. Since Brahman cannot change and cannot be divided, no world could have ever emerged from him. The world is not a transformation of Brahman. The world is an appearance of Brahman. Just as the snake never actually occurred in the rope, not even for a second, the universe never actually occurred in awareness. The creation is a non-event vividly perceived. There is no cause, there is no effect, there is no seed, there is no sprout. Everything is only the solid mass of awareness. The idea that one thing produces another is a hallucination of the spinning mind. There is no past, there is no future, there is no before and no after. Brahman is the eternal now, without beginning or end. The story of the individual's journey is a lie told to a ghost. The student asks, Master, I understand that nothing was ever born, but even in this now I see boundaries. The wall is not the window. The teacher is not the student. This difference seems to be the very structure of my sight. How can I call a world of billions of distinct parts a single oneness? Is my very vision a lie? Listen, O Nidagha, you are suffering from the habit of otherness. You see difference only because you have stopped looking at the substance. Does the wave have a different heart than the ocean? Does the gold in the ring have a different nature than the gold in the crown? Difference is a mental habit, a ghost wall built by the mind to keep the eye from realizing its own vastness. The wall is made of words. The reality is unbroken. The I is only Brahman. It has no private territory. The you is only Brahman. It is not an other. The that is only Brahman. It is not distant. If there is a difference between you and I, then Brahman is limited. If Brahman is limited, Brahman is not infinite. If Brahman is not infinite, then Brahman is an effect subject to death. But the self is deathless. Therefore difference is a logical impossibility. Look at a piece of cloth. You see the warp and the woof. You see the threads crisscrossing. You say this thread is going north and that thread is going east. But is there any cloth apart from the threads? No. Is there any thread apart from the cotton? No. The difference between the threads is a functional appearance required for the weaving, but the substance is 100% cotton. The universe is that cloth. The people and the stars are the threads. The difference is the pattern. Brahman is the material. A sage sees the pattern, but never forgets the cotton. The fool gets lost in the pattern and fears the other threads. There is no inside. There is no outside. The space inside the jar and the space outside the jar are not two spaces. The jar does not divide the sky. It only appears to. Everything, from the ego thought to the furthest star, is a single unfragmented mass of awareness. The student asks, Master, I see that difference is a ghost, but I still move through 3 distinct lands. In the day, the world is hard. In the night, the world is a dream. In deep sleep, the world is gone. These transitions feel real. How can you say there is only one unmoving mass of awareness when my own life is a series of disappearances and returns? Listen, O Nidagha, you are identified with the beads, but you have forgotten the thread. The waking, the dreaming, and the sleeping are three different flickers of the mind. They are like three different movies projected onto the same white wall. Does the wall become a forest when the forest movie plays? Does the wall become a void when the projector is turned off? You are the wall of awareness. The three states are merely the noise of the machine. The waker is only Brahman. The physical world is just a high-definition dream. The dreamer is only Brahman. The mental world is just a low-definition waking. The sleeper is only Brahman. The darkness is just the sun with its eyes shut. If you were the waker, you would die when the dream begins. If you were the dreamer, you would vanish in deep sleep. Since you witness the arrival of the dream and the arrival of sleep, you are the witness who survives the death of every state. The three are temporary modifications. The fourth is the eternal substance. The waking state is a dream. The dream state is a dream. Deep sleep is a dream of darkness. Brahman alone is the wide-awake reality that never blinks. There is no three and there is no fourth in reality, for the fourth is the only thing that actually exists. Imagine a cinema screen. The movie shows a great flood. Is the screen wet? No, the movie shows a great fire. Is the screen burned? No, the movie ends. Is the screen lonely? No, you are the Turiya screen. The flood of the waking world and the fire of the dream world cannot leave a single scratch on the diamond of your being. There is no waking up to Brahman, for how can the sun wake up to the light? There is no entering the fourth, for how can the space enter the sky? Everything is only the mass of awareness. The student asks, Master, I understand the logic. I see that the many is a ghost and the fourth is the screen, but my heart is still dry. I have the map, but I do not have the nectar. How does a thought of oneness become the experience of bliss? Listen, O Nidagha, you are still treating the truth as a report. You think Brahman is a word you carry in your head, but Brahman is Amrita, the nectar that never dries. Knowledge is not about the absolute. Knowledge is the absolute in its liquid form. Stop thinking the truth and start tasting the isness. Everything is only the nectar of awareness. There is nothing else. The world is only the nectar. It has no bitter root. The ego is only the nectar. Its I-ness is a drop of the sea. The grief is only the nectar. It is the sun misperceived as a shadow. Consider a lump of sugar thrown into a cup of water. The sugar is solid. The water is liquid. When they meet, the sugar dies as a shape, but lives as the sweetness of the water. The world is that sugar. The nectar of awareness is the water. When the hammer of logic hits the world dissolves. It does not become nothing. It becomes the sweetness of your own being. I am the nectar of knowledge. I am the nectar of existence. I am the nectar of bliss. There is no second to drink this nectar, for the nectar is the drinker. There is no hunger. There is no thirst. There is no wanting in the mass of awareness. Everything is only the solid nectar of Brahman. The student asks, Master, the logic is clear and the nectar is sweet, but in the world I am still called by a name. I am still a Brahmin, a seeker, a man of a certain age. These labels are the walls of my life. How can I be the infinite while I am still identified by the tags of society? Listen, O Nidagha, you are identified with the label, but you have forgotten the product. A jar is called large or small, old or new. Does the clay care for these names? No, the names are for the convenience of the market. They are not the truth of the clay. Your name and your history are for the convenience of the world dream. You are the unlabeled substratum. Every tag you wear is a lie told to a ghost. The caste is only Brahman. There is no high and no low in awareness. The stage of life is only Brahman. The student, the householder, and the monk are just costumes. The ritual duty is only Brahman. There is nothing to do for the one who is. If you say, I am a Brahmin, you have admitted that you are not the all. If you say, I am a renunciant, you have admitted that you were once something else. But the self never becomes anything. The social person is a superimposition. It is a parasitic growth of the mind stuff. Disown the tribe. Stand as the totality. There is no male. There is no female. There is no neither and no both. Everything is only the mass of awareness. The biological mask is a wisp of smoke in the furnace of Brahman. I am not the body. I am not the senses. I am not the one who belongs to a family. I am the witness of the labeling itself. Everything is only the solid nectar of Brahman. The student asks, Master, I have heard the words I am Brahman. I repeat them in my mind, but they remain as words, a faint sound in a noisy room. How does a sentence become a reality? How does the idea of oneness become the mass of oneness? Listen, O Nidagha, you are treating the truth as a guest you have invited into your head, but the truth is the owner of the house. You do not think you are Brahman. You stop thinking you are anything else. I am Brahman is the only truth. I am Brahman is the only knowledge. I am Brahman is the only bliss. There is no doubt. There is no other. When you say I, you point to the body. When you say Brahman, you think of the stars. But the I, the sense of pure presence, and Brahman, the infinite mass, are not two things to be joined. They were never apart. The distance between the seeker and the sought is a linguistic glitch. There is no meditating on Brahman, for how can Brahman meditate on himself? There is only the unbroken continuity of the fact. The meditator is Brahman. The meditation is Brahman. The object of meditation is Brahman. Stop being a seeker. Identity is not the result of a process. It is the ground that allows the process to be imagined. The thought I am Brahman is the final fire. It burns the forest of duality. And then, like the fire that has consumed all the wood, it vanishes into its own source. Imagine a cleaning nut thrown into muddy water. The nut gathers the dirt. The nut pulls the dirt to the bottom. The nut dissolves itself, leaving only pure water. The sentence I am Brahman is that nut. It gathers the small me thoughts and kills them. Then it kills itself. Sovereignty is the silence that remains after the final thought has committed suicide. The student asks, Master, if the I has been dissolved, why does the body still move? If the mind is liquidated, who is it that speaks and eats? If Brahman is unmoving, how can a knower of Brahman walk across a room? Listen, O Nidagha, you are witnessing a kinetic illusion. Does the sky move when the clouds race across it? Number does the sun travel when its reflection moves in the water? No, the sage is the stationary sky. The body is a shadow cast by the sun of the past. The shadow moves, but the sun never takes a single step. Everything is only the unmoving mass of Brahman. The walking is only Brahman. The talking is only Brahman. The thinking is only Brahman. The doer is dead. The doing is a borrowed vibration. Imagine a pot being carried through space. The space inside the pot seems to move from the house to the well, but has the space actually moved? No, the movement belongs to the clay walls. The sage is the space. The body is the jar. Actions happen in his presence, but he remains the non-doer. He is the silence that allows the noise to be heard. The body continues to breathe because of the momentum of the arrow already shot from the bow. But for the sage, the archer is gone. The machine is unplugged, yet the blades continue to spin for a time. He watches the spin with the indifference of a stranger. There is no duty for the one who is. There is no correct conduct and no evil conduct. The sage is beyond the rules of the pack, for he no longer recognizes the pack as an other. If he rules a kingdom, it is Brahman ruling Brahman. If he begs for food, it is Brahman feeding Brahman. He treats his own personality as a uniform he is required to wear for a few more hours. The student asks, "Master, I have hammered away the world, the mind, and the ego. I stand now in non-duality. Is this the final victory?" Listen, O Nidagha. Even the thought I am Brahman is a ripple in the void. Even the concept of oneness is a problem if it is held against duality. To say one is to remember two. True sovereignty is the dissolution of the counter. There is no non-duality in the absolute, for there was never a duality to negate. Drop the shield of Advaita and stand in the silence that has no name. This Gita is only Brahman. The words are only Brahman. The Guru is only Brahman. The disciple is only Brahman. There is no teaching and no one taught. If you still believe there is a text that gave you knowledge, you are still waiting to wake up. The hammer strikes the book itself. The Veda is a dream sound. The master's voice is an echo in a void. The realization is the end of the hallucination that you were ever ignorant. The map is burned because the territory is found to be your own pulse. When everything that can be named is negated, what remains is not nothingness, but the solid mass of awareness. It is not empty, for it is full of itself. It is not full, for there is no second thing to fill it. Imagine a block of diamond in a universe with no light. Does the diamond stop being hard? Number, does it stop being a diamond? No, it is simply undetectable by any instrument of duality. You are that diamond. The world was a series of scratchings on the surface of the stone. The hammer has polished the stone until the scratchings are gone. What remains is the unscratchable fact. There is no birth, no death. There is no seeker and no one who is free. There is no bondage and no liberation. This is the supreme truth. The sage is not a survivor of a war. He is the one who realized the war never happened. The silence is sovereign because it no longer has to defend itself. Brahman is the only substance. The world is a borrowed glow. Identity is the unblinking fact. The hammering stops. The mind has been exhausted by the repetition of the truth. It has no more differences to chew on. It drops into the natural state. You are the foundational isness. The tournament is over. The king is seated. Silence is the final roar.